Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Slay to Success talk show. I am your host, Rochelle Slay Queen Hemingway, and I am the CEO and founder of Slay to Success, which is a leadership and transformational consultant service business. I am a professional keynote speaker and a self published author, leadership and image consultant, and United States Air Force veteran after serving 30 years. So, welcome into the show tonight. Please, if you are here, let us know that you're here. All right. We want to know that you came by, stopped in. We want you to just tell us what your name is. You can drop it off in the comments so I can give you a shout out because I appreciate everyone who comes here, takes time to actually come to a live show and to hear our guests as they come in. And as we know, the word slay is the basis, the foundation of what I do, this talk show. Slay to success, right? Stay ready, be ready, lead out loud, a sense of community, a sense of family, and knowing you're built to last. And it also means to kill it, to dominate it, and to nail it, to be on point, to impress greatly, and to dream big and work hard until you own it. The purpose of this talk show, y'all, is to highlight women and men who are living a life of service on their own terms and using the slave philosophies to positively impact the world. So, if you are here tonight, I see we got a couple of comments in here. Hello, Barbara from LA. Thank you so much for showing up for us tonight. Love that. We're all across the globe here. We've got Kim in the house, my queen, tuning in from Fort Belvoir, Virginia, and she is happy to be here. I'm happy that you are here, my queen. I hope that you're feeling well. And also got Kingsley Scott, and he is from San Antonio, Texas, and he's glad to be here, and he has the notepad ready. All right. He is not playing around in here. So if you need to go get your notepad, if you need to go get your tea, which is what I got going on in here, okay, please make sure you do that before you get to hear all the things that we're going to speak to on tonight's show. Christine, thank you so much. She is joining in from Seattle, Washington. Y'all, we got a lot of people from different places. This is the beauty of being on virtual stages, right? That you can just be out in your room or in your house or wherever you're at. I'm in my office, y'all, and we can have folks just dial in so that way we can have a conversation. Now, I like when we have lots of comments that are in our comment section. So if you hear something good, if you want to ask a question, do not hesitate. All right. This is a place where you can network as well. So if you see someone you're not connected to, especially on the LinkedIn side of the house, you might want to go ahead and connect to that person because you never know who they know. All right. And that's what this is all about. So before we get our guest here on stage, just let y'all know that I do have a presentation, if you will, a free session. It's called Elevate Your Presence. And I'm going to have that on Tuesday night, which is March 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to drop in the link here so that way you all can see it. All right, you just go to Slay to Success. Go to www.slaytosuccess.com, or you can scan the QR code that's on the flyer there. And we're going to be talking about different strategies on how you can build your presence in 4 different areas: appearance, behaviors, communications, and your digital presence. All right. These are the things that I have done since I retired. I retired in 2021. And y'all, I got lucrative opportunities. I got opportunities on top of opportunities. And so you will see me out here. But I am now showing everyone what those key elements are and the blueprint, if you will. So I would love for you to join us. Please make sure that you go to, again, if you don't know and you're just kind of like, well, I'm going to go ahead and put it into the comments here, and then I'll have it on the banner. And you just go to my website because that's where all the information that you need to stay connected to me That's where it all lies. And I love that, Kingsley, you went ahead and put out your LinkedIn profile so that way that people can connect to you. I'm already connected to him, y'all. So, like, let's make sure that we're using this opportunity to connect to other people, okay? So, thank you so much for doing that. All right. And again, here is slaytosuccess.com. It's very simple. All right. Just spell it out. It'll pull up and you can RSVP, and we'll see you on Tuesday night. Okay, y'all. All right. So who do I have with us tonight? Well, let me just talk through this a little bit. All right. I have with me my friend and retired Air Force sister. Now, she used to be my supervisor, y'all. All right. And she don't mess around. Her name is Kimberly Shirley. She is a United States Air Force veteran who served her country with distinction and dedication and retired at the rank of Senior Master Sergeant, which is the top 2% of the enlisted corps, and she retired after serving 28 years. Her career began as an air traffic controller, and she retrained to the Aerospace Medicine field, where she worked many years in labor and delivery, emergency room, and ultimately served in the role of the superintendent of multiple medical groups. Okay. So her career culminated in the First Sergeant role alongside her husband. Her youngest daughter followed in her parents' footsteps and joined the Air Force, served in the medical career field, and is now a First Sergeant as well. The three of them served 6 years on active duty together. So it's a family thing, y'all. All right. Their oldest daughter resides in San Diego, California, and works for the state in Youth Probations. Now, after retiring, Miss Shirley joined the Federal Civilian Service in 2008, where she managed the Sexual Assault Prevention Program, assisting all sexual assault survivors within the military and family member community for Edwards Air Force Base in California. So, wanting to gain new skills, she changed careers and began working in the security information field, ensuring the security of classified information and equipment. Ms. Shirley now holds the position of the Air Force Test Center Deputy Inspector General, managing inspections and overseeing the complaint resolution program for the headquarters staff and 3 subordinate wing inspector general officers. Her hobbies include singing, shopping, and traveling. So please welcome her to the stage. Hi, Queen.
Well, hello, 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 and thank you so
Hello.
much, Rochelle, to invite me back
Yes.
once again. Can I have a
Yes.
little moment for a shout out to all my Facebook family and friends that have signed on and logged in to check out the show and see what things are about? And I hope I do you all proud.
Oh, I know that you will, because
Just
many of
gonna
the
be
things
me.
that I know that I do today are from lessons that I learned from you. So,
Wow,
and
how
we're
many
going to be
years
talking
ago
about
was
that.
that? Wow,
Mm,
the 90s, late
it
90s.
was in the
Yeah,
90s. So, y'all,
Interlick
I
Turkey.
joined the Air Force in 91, and I was stationed in Turkey from 95 to 97. So
Yeah,
that's where we were
so
at.
that's where we met.
That's
All
where we
those years ago.
met.
And that was our best assignment. Third
That,
world
yeah,
country, Muslim country. It was our best assignment. Raising two
yeah,
teenage girls in Turkey. The best. And I think they'll
yeah.
agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I learned a lot, and I learned a lot from you. So, okay, so we're gonna be talking specifically through some things that I know that you're very passionate about. So buckle up, y'all. We're about to have a deep conversation. So, you know, we're both very passionate about leadership.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and
Very
we've been
important.
there, done that, and gotten the T-shirt like 10, 15 times over. Okay, about the things that we have seen, the things that we've been part of. So tell us a little bit about, you know, your journey, first of all, from where you were living at to getting into the military, and then tell us some lessons learned from, doing the leadership roles that you had in the military. And then we'll flip it on into what you're doing now.
Okay. Okay, so that's really easy. Born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, to very strict religious parents. And so leadership started in the home. Okay.
Hmm.
And so it's not that hard for me to kind of see how it is to be in charge and get things done. So that started in the home for me. And it was really simple. If you didn't get it right the first time, Lucille or Floyd were going to get you right the second time. There wasn't going to be a third time. So their leadership was key in my life and key in my role. And that's okay. So from there, joining the Air Force, I knew I couldn't stay at home because of the fact of how they led. It wasn't what Kim wanted at the time. So Kim knew she had to
Hmm.
get gone. And I got gone and joined the Air Force and never looked back. Never looked back. I don't have any regrets in life. I think about things that I've gone through my life and ask why, but it was all for a greater purpose and a greater path that I couldn't see then, but I understand it now. So joining the Air Force was really easy as far as getting through basic training, as far as the leadership, obeying, following orders. That stuff was easy. It wasn't so physically, wonderful as a little 18-year-old skinny little chick that joined the Air Force the first time away from home. But I made it through, and it was easy where other
Yeah.
people struggled because they couldn't accept somebody telling them what to do. They didn't last very long. And we saw several of
Hmm.
them leaving on that one-way ticket home before graduating basic training. So that wasn't hard for me. So, you know, joining the Air Force, having leadership at home, getting that in the Air Force just wasn't a big issue to me. What I
Yeah.
did see and learn were the different types of personalities that you have to deal with. Okay.
Mm.
And as
Hmm.
young airmen, that subordinate supervisor chain of command is very, very vital and important in the military. You got to have it. You got to have it. But it's how you use it that's very, very important to me. There
Yeah.
are those people that are power hungry and just love telling you what to do. Okay. And those people, there's a place for them in the world. And then there are those
Yes.
that, will just abuse that. And that's what gives leadership a really bad taste in people's mouths. And like, no, I can't handle that. Can't handle that. One thing I do want to share that has just stayed in my life, and I've shared it with other people. I learned the most from my worst supervisors. The
Yeah.
good supervisors that you have, you remember them.
Yeah.
You refer to them from time to time, and you keep, hear what you learn from them, and maybe you can incorporate that into your life. It's those horrible, atrocious supervisors that I learned not to be like and not to use anything that I learned from them and forge forward to not be like them. So
Yeah.
that was easy for me. Those bad
Yeah.
ones, ooh, yeah. I took a lot from them to learn how not to be like them.
Yeah. And you know what? When you talk about personalities, that's one of the things that I think a lot of people have to adjust is the different personalities that you will face. And not even in your career, just in life in general.
Mm,
There are so many different types of personalities, and sometimes we get so caught up in what they're doing and how they're doing it that we don't check ourselves,
yeah.
to see how we're responding to it because everybody is different, you know. And go ahead, I've seen some things, but go ahead.
Yeah. When I say that I learned the most from my worst supervisors, I had to also learn that when I became a leader,
Yeah.
that it wasn't all about self. There's that
Yeah.
word servant leader. And if you really don't hold that true to you and who you are, you can go sideways. So to
Yeah.
be a servant leader, I think, means you're taking care of others, not covering for others, not holding people, not accountable for things, but being that example. And so you have to watch yourself. The one thing that scared me the most as I was leaving the Air Force at a retirement ceremony, someone told me, "You were my mentor." And I looked at him and I thought, "What?" And they said, "I watched you
Yeah.
through the years that I've been here on Edwards. I've watched you move. And I learned I wanted to be like you." And I thought, "Oh, I hope I didn't do anything, step sideways, and then pick up the bad habits. But that made me feel, wow, somebody thought it important enough that they watched me moved through the Air Force in the last 6 years of my career, and they took on some of the things that I did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had no idea that people were watching me. But, we both held jobs where you live in a fishbowl, a first sergeant, a
Yeah.
superintendent, a supervisor. People are watching you to see if you step out of line just to call you out,
Yeah.
not to say, oh, they're doing things, let me watch them for that. No, they want to see you come to work with your hair out of regulation, you not wearing the uniform correctly, or you saying something to somebody the wrong way so they can call you out. But I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that people understand that when you take on that role of being a leader, being a supervisor, that you understand and know what that means. It's not about self and getting yourself promoted anymore. It was about me trying to make sure I left my job, the Air Force, better than what I was when I came in.
Yeah. And you know what? And you did, because I learned a lot from you just in the 2 years. The things that I took on from, our interaction. And one of them was taking care of other people. And you took care of me in a time in my career or in my life that I really needed someone to help me through to make right decisions for me at that time. And you definitely did that for me. And then the other one was this stay ready to be ready.
Mm,
All right, because I remember when you asked us to come back in service dress blues, I think we were to come back on the Monday, and you told us on like Friday so we can be a part of this event. And I didn't have my stripes. Like I had the older stripe on. I think I had
mm,
A1C on, and I was supposed to have senior airman. And it taught me a big lesson because that weekend I was with, the girls that I hung out with. We were in the dorms trying to sew on these stripes. And I was like, this ain't gonna be able to work. But it taught me like you need to be prepared and ready for certain things, even when in the lull times, right? Where we think
mhm.
that nothing is happening and something stops, comes out and there's an opportunity. It's like, well, what do you do with that opportunity?
All right.
So, that taught me a huge lesson in that. But yeah, you are a mentor. People watch us. People are watching us now. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
It's all through your whole entire life. If you're out making positive impact in the world, people are watching you and they won't ever tell you what you're
Yeah.
doing. All right. They'll just be
Mm-mm.
like, they just like drop in every now and again. But that also teaches me to do the right thing. All right. To be that person to do the right thing, even when it's hard. People to
Yes.
make when you make the right decisions for the right reasons, um, no matter what you do, some people will be upset, but you just got to keep moving, right? And you've got to just know in your heart that that's what you made a decision, and that's what you're going to go for. And if it doesn't work out, then you go back to it. Um, so yeah.
I know there's some folks that follow me on Facebook or are friends with me on Facebook that may not be military affiliated. And so this leadership thing doesn't just extend to the military and your work life. It can happen and you can be that informal leader. And we just don't use that word in the civilian sector or in our personal lives. So here's what I like to refer to that as is there's this phrase that I didn't coin, but it's called straighten your crown. So
Mm,
please help me when we are out there moving in our spaces, no matter where they are. If you see something wrong with me, if you see that I'm stepping out of line somewhere, help me straighten my crown by coming over to me, pulling me aside and say, hey, I know in your heart you wanted to do something good, but it came out a little foul. Let me know. Don't let me walk around, and I've always said this, with excrement from my nose, and you don't tell me. Help me
yeah.
out. So
Yeah.
it's not all about that supervisory, subordinate relationship. Leadership can be anywhere. Help us out when we are in our spaces, out in the world. Help us out. There's nothing worse than seeing somebody doing something in the streets. And what do? Hang our heads and roll our eyes, suck our teeth. And we have to be careful because we know in this day and age in society, you can't always approach people. We know that.
No.
There's some
Yeah.
folks that have tried that and things have gone not so well. But
Yeah.
we kind of know when it's safe to step forward and say something, do something. So I ask you, if you ever are with me and see me around, help me out. Hook a sister up by letting me know, hey, Kim, you,
Yeah.
something's your pants you let me know. Lipstick is
Yeah.
all down here. Get me right. Because I'm gonna do it with you. I'm gonna do it to you.
Yeah.
And in the most polite way that I possibly can. It's never to embarrass or hurt anybody because Lord knows that can come my way just as well. So, Gary and I both being first sergeants at the same time, funny story, people would say things like, oh, there's two first sergeants in law enforcement desk. Somebody would call from the security forces or the police would call because you had somebody in your unit that may have gotten picked up for DUI, or many times they were in jail in Los Angeles for me.
Yeah.
So they'd call the law enforcement desk. Can I speak to Sergeant Shirley? Which one? Senior Master Sergeant? Which one?
Which one?
Ma'am? You know, so you got to be careful. We don't know who things might be intended for sometimes, but yeah, there were times where Gary and I, got mixed up for first sergeants, and there were sometimes people would say, "Ma'am, can you come get me and study?" No, he's got to come get you.
No.
But people would say, "Oh, you all are different first sergeants," and we are. If we
Yeah.
saw the same person in the parking lot, would just say they didn't have their hat on, Gary would run up to him and get in their face. Hey, man, what's wrong with you? Where's your head covered? I'm the type of person, I'll walk up to you. Hey, my name's Sergeant Shirley. Not sure if you know, but you're out here without a head cover. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Shake that. And he was like, oh,
Approach.
no. And he was
Yeah.
he was using that kinder, gentler Air Force before that term was even really coined. And so we had different personalities, but there's a way in how my mother used to say it. You can tell people to go to Hades and make them like it. And she
Yeah.
used to have people thank her. My mother was one of those prominent women in the church. And when she would go up to tell somebody to try to make corrections, that thank you, Miss Bridges, Sister Bridges, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And
Yeah.
I've not gotten that down just right, but I try to be mindful of when I try to go help somebody, if it's in correction or if it's just, hey, I'm not sure if you're aware, do it in the vein in which that you want somebody to speak to you. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think that would make life so much
it's a
easier.
skill. It's a skill,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And
yes,
and this skill has to be developed. And so it takes practice and seeing what the response is on the other side, and to know if you need to make some adjustments based on the
yes,
persons that you're, facing, and as
yeah,
well as the circumstances surrounding it. I mean, there's a
right.
whole lot of things that you got to be thinking about as you're approaching someone to quote unquote correct them or to get them onto the right path. And so
Oh,
I love that, the way leadership, of course, you can go all different directions with leadership, but there's so many different elements and components. It's very complex when you kind of sit back to it as to how do you get people to follow you. All right. So
hmm. Yes, 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 yes. That's a whole nother conversation. Don't just do things because I, as a leader, said so, or you can't do this because I, the leader, didn't tell you you could. You got to be able to adapt. Like you said, we coined the phrase adapt and overcome, right? And
yeah.
so we have some people again that are just those individuals that got to be in charge
Mhm.
until the fire starts, and they run it
Mhm.
too, to get away. And it's like,
Running
wait a
to
minute,
the
you're
hills,
the
running
leader.
to the hills and putting the binoculars on and trying to look
Yes.
to see what's going on down there. I'm like,
As
see,
long as the temperature is fine and the water's cool, you are the leader, and you wanted everybody to know that. When
yeah,
crap hits the fan and starts blowing in your face, and oh, it wasn't me, I wasn't in charge. Let me go get that NCO that was, or that individual that was supposed. Yeah, those far away,
no,
distant folks. Yeah,
yeah,
I ain't got
yeah,
time for them. No,
yeah.
and I think
So
we've. Go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead.
We all know, for my enlisted core friends here, we all know who runs the Air Force.
Sure do.
you know, it's
We
those of
know.
us who are in the trenches doing the work, and we know who all the glory goes to, and that's okay. We knew what we were signing up for. But
Yeah,
when you really need that strong person that is going to be able to say, hey, I step up, I take that charge, I lead, and I know the good comes with the bad. Anytime you get praise for any of your folks, I'm going to get that. And so goes the negativity. You got to get
Yeah.
that too, because that'll
Yeah.
change you, that'll help you grow, and that will make you better. If everything
Yeah.
was rosy in life, I don't think we'd be on this show.
No.
Yeah, yeah,
We would not, because
yeah.
as we gotten a little bit more seasoned and matured in the military setting in the
Mm,
Air Force, we knew like there were some days ahead of us that were going to be hard, and they
yeah.
were. So, but at the end of it all, you learn so much, not about only about other people, but you learn about yourself and how
Ooh,
much you can
yes,
handle,
yes,
you
yes,
know?
yes. And
So,
I'm
it's
still
like,
struggling with that.
yeah,
I
I think
am. A
we
lot
all
of
are.
people, I think a lot of people looked at me and see this strong-minded person. But if you were to ask me how to describe myself, I would say a closet introvert. And I know people are going crazy. Kim, an introvert? Yes, 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 yes. I work well in social settings. I love to talk. I guess you can see that.
Mhm.
But truly, I don't think I'm all that extrovert. I love to be out, have fun. I can socialize, but I'm just as happy and content at home. And a
Yeah.
perfect example of that, I thought I would struggle through the pandemic. When COVID
Yeah.
hit, first of all, I was non-believer. I was like, this is gonna last 2 weeks because I know how the military is about folks being at home and working. There ain't work really being done if you're at home. So I'm like, this ain't gonna last long, y'all. We're gonna be back here in 2 weeks. And I remember it was 20 March 2020 when they sent me home with a computer. And I'm like, we're gonna be
Mhm.
back in 2 weeks. Don't y'all worry about it.
Yeah.
And those 2 weeks turned to 2 more weeks and then a
Yeah.
month. Folks
Yeah.
was dying by the
Yeah.
thousands. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is serious. And so there wasn't even talk about coming back to work. And I'm like, I don't know if I can handle this. I mean, I was a hard worker, don't get me wrong, but I'd like to get out the office and walk around. I was one of
Yeah.
those walkabout leaders, so I just didn't think I could handle it. And now I'm not so sure I could ever go back to the office. But they make me practice one day
Yeah.
out of the week. I have to go
Yeah.
in and know
Yeah.
how
I
to
see you.
act and
Yeah.
and dress. So yeah,
Yeah.
I still I telework most of the time, but I do go into the office and I enjoy that. And especially in my job, I've held jobs that people just don't want to see you coming. First sergeant,
Yeah.
folks running, right? Sexual assault response coordinator. Folks did not want to hear the briefings, the lectures, until I want to say, and I'm not bragging on myself, but I told myself if I ever got an opportunity to do public speaking, I was going to make anything I did engaging. And
Yeah.
that was my charge as the SARC. I never want, because I have been in some briefings, Rochelle, where you want to poke your own eyes out. You'd be like struggling
Because
to
you
get to
know
these
what?
briefings. You're like, not again. Oh, how often do we have to? And so I knew that was coming with the SARC. But
Yeah.
people knew me as a first sergeant, so I think that helped in my role. People knew that
Yeah.
they could come talk to me if they had to. And when I did my lectures, the Air Force, as you know, will give you scripted course, text to say, but I always wanted to make it engaging. And how do you take a subject as dire, as important, but as heart-wrenching as a sexual assault and turn it into something that will make people listen? And so
Mhm.
I practiced that. And I
Yeah.
spent many hours in the mirror. Oh, Lord, I'm being transparent, telling my secrets,
Hey, this is
talking
what
to
this show is
myself,
about.
going through my speeches.
Yeah.
Like I said, they'd give you the standard text to say, but I was like, okay, I can do this, but I can add to it and make it very interesting. I filled the base theater at Edwards multiple times, and I never will forget. There was one time the base civil engineer was in the theater and folks was along the wall, and he was like, Kim, you can't start the briefing. We got to get these
Right.
folks out of here. We can only have,
Fire.
963 folks in here. That's enough seating. We can't have fire. I was like, oh. So here I go out to the center stage, the microphone. May I have your attention? The base civil engineer is here in the audience, and we can't have people blocking the fire exits, So we're gonna have to ask you all to leave and come back, and sucking of the teeth, rolling of the eyes. Like, this is not the way to start off my presentation, but we got that. But
Hey, look,
I
I'll
had to
take
make
that
it.
all day if you're going to come in here and throws and want to listen to this type of briefing. All right.
So I had to make it interesting. And so I
Yeah.
got my audience engaged. And I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that it wasn't just me talking. Folks don't like to be picked on in the audience, but you got to make it engaging. And I never will forget, there was an engineer. So the mission at Edwards is test and engineer. Anything that goes into the Air Force inventory as far as weapon systems and airplanes have to be approved and tested at Edwards, y'all. So all that stuff has to be done here. Hey, Mary. So
Yep, Mary's here.
she just got me off guard. So we have a lot of engineers. I'm talking rocket scientists. For real, y'all. There are real rocket scientists that I walk amongst, daily at Edwards. And so they're a different breed. If you've not met an engineer and tried to sit down and have a conversation with, it can be challenging because they truly aren't the social people. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need engineers in our lives, and then we need the social people in our lives too. So everybody counts. But I had a very well-respected senior engineer come up to me after one of my lectures, and I thought, oh no, what's he gonna say? And he said, Kim, I just gotta let you know, I hate this topic. And I was like, yeah, Carl, I understand. He said, but I got to give it to you. This is the first time since the Air Force started making them mandatory that I'd never looked at my watch the whole time.
Wow.
I never knew this was a 90-minute briefing. Yeah, so I felt good about that. I was like floating as I left that lecture. But yeah, so you gotta make sure that you can engage people if you're gonna do public speaking. And so yeah, I am truly, I think, a closeted introvert, y'all, but I can in fact move about, do public speaking. Ultimately, I would love to, and I thank you for the opportunity. And I always tell you that I wanted one day to do a TED Talk. I have no idea what it's to be about. I'm sure God will drop something in there, but I'm waiting on Him to give me that touch and tell me. But yeah, I would ultimately like to do a TED Talk.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you're stepping into that because you've always been able to captivate the audience. And, when we step into our gifts and our talents that we know we have, it blesses other people. So you just can't step away from that. You can't hide that mere fact. And yes, folks will be looking at their watches, dropping phones, having little side conversations with one another. We've all been at these briefings where you're standing there and you're talking, or you're the keynote speaker. It happens to all of us, so it is the challenge of how to keep your audience engaged.
Yeah, when I started putting price tags on phones ringing, I told it for everybody's phone that rings, they put $1 in the basket as you walk out, and they were like, so that was, again, something to make it fun and not so stoic. And yeah, sexual assault prevention is a serious subject, but try to add something to it that's going to make people want to listen to you. I can remember in Commander's Call, who wants to sit on the front row? Nobody. So the first 3 rows are always empty. And so I would do that. Taller tap. Come on. I'd be walking through the audience and I'd say something like, so we're going to sing hymn number 479. And you all know what that's about. Come on up and start filling from the front to the back. And they would look at me and I'm like, yeah, come on, just as I am, or something. And a lot of folks didn't know what that. But just try to make fun and make light of it. So I just wanted people to understand and know we have to be here. Let's make the best of it. So come to the front, or hey, if your cell phone goes off, you're gonna pay me $1. I remember security briefings when I was in the security world. Who wants to hear one more time
Not me.
about how to safeguard classified documents, right? So
Nope.
I started something that I thought was really gonna be an eye opener. I took a folder and put a secret cover sheet on it and just laid it on
Yeah.
one of the tables in the room.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see if people really paid attention to my
Yeah.
training, right? And so I saw people come in and nobody wanted to sit at the table where the secret document was. Nobody would pick it up and bring it to me like we were taught in training. No, every table in the room got filled except for the one that had the secret document on it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so what else can I do? I brought a basket with me to the briefing. And so before I started, I asked everybody to put their cell phones in the basket. So they were passing around the basket and people were like, oh, no. I'm like, put your phones in the basket, please. And they would be passing the basket. I'm like, okay. So nobody wanted to put their phones in the basket. Why?
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to give up their information. That's how you
Mhm.
should guard classified information. And they were like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So then they started listening. So maybe you got to be goofy, quirky sometimes. I've in PME they said start your briefings or a lecture with a joke. I can't tell a joke. I throw it by
Yeah, I'm
saying
not a
the
joke
punchline
person
before it,
either.
so I'm bad at jokes. I will. So
Yeah.
I'll start off my briefings with a question or something, and people will be like, So
Yeah.
yeah, the attention step. Remember they taught us that in
Yeah, they
PME?
did.
Have an
Yeah.
attention step. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Hey,
I'm
I
I'm
do I do want to talk to a little bit about your transition from the military because I got a lot of people here on tonight's live that are either active duty or getting ready to retire or recently retired.
okay.
So, what was your experience when you after you retired?
I was ready. And everybody
Okay.
will know when their time comes.
Yeah.
Okay. I've heard people say, you got 2 days to piss me off in a row and I'm gone. But no, you will know when it's your time. So don't feel shame of when it is. If you decide to punch and jump at 12 years, that's you and your business. I have no say in that. And so if you choose to ride it out like my husband and I did it for 28 years, that worked well for us.
Mhm.
I found for me, my transition was a lot easier than my husband's. And I have more male friends than I do female friends. And I think that's by nature of being in a male dominant, military.
Mhm.
But
Absolutely.
I found that many of the men that I've talked to that I communicate with that are still in my circle, they struggle. I mean,
Why is that?
Gary, so I'll just for our household for Gary, he extrovert, just hard charging, um, dominant person who loved the military, ate, slept, and drank it. He's a military brat. His father was in the Navy and retired. I think him and Gary may have been on active duty 3 years at the same time. His father in the Navy and Gary active duty Air Force. And so Gary went straight from a pink ID card to getting his own. Shall I tell on myself how old I am that we had
Yeah,
green
pink
ID
ID
cards back then?
cards.
And so he joined the military straight from home, just as I did, and was very deliberate in everything that he wanted to do. And I think we all find that we have a first sergeant somewhere in our career that made an impression on us, and either we wanted to
Yeah.
be like them or lead like them, take care of people like them. And so Gary had a first sergeant early in his career that he just said, hey, this dude made leaps and bounds of change in my life. And so that's what he wanted to do. So throughout Gary's career, he attained everything that he wanted to. And he was a fast burner, senior in below
Mm,
zone, staff first
mm.
time, tech second time, step promoted to master, senior at like 13 or 14. And he did not want to make chief. He didn't want to give up his diamond. And he knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So he was fully immersed in his career, ate, slept, and drank it. And so when it came time for him to retire, being the male provider that he has always been in our family, in my life, he was just unsure of where to go. He had that
Mm,
structure. For 28 years of our lives, we knew what to wear, when to wear it, where to be, where to eat, all those things. And it's not that we couldn't do it on our own, but when 28 years of your life, you already know, and the hardest thing I had to do was learn what to wear and pick out
Mm-hmm.
every morning to go
Mm-hmm.
to work. So for
That's why
him,
I'm here, y'all.
I'll tell you about that. So for him, it was that structure, that routine. And so he didn't know what he wanted to do. And I think that was what was so fearful.
Yeah.
Financially, we were set because for 3 years of our lives, we lived on one paycheck and he never knew it. He never knew it. So I knew financially we were going to be okay. But he just struggled with, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? And
Yeah.
so he got a group of, see, he's that type of person that he can persuade people. He got 4 other first sergeants to go to truck driving school because the Air Force, but at that time, I don't know what it's like now, would pay for a trade before you got out. They had
Yeah.
tuition assistance. And he found a trucking company, talked 4 other first sergeants into going to truck driving school. They went to truck driving school. They all got their, was it Class C driver's
CDL.
license to drive those
CDL.
big trucks. And
Yeah.
so Gary had a fascination as a kid traveling in the military, seeing the big truckers go down the highway. You do this, and they went, and he just loved that. He sucked it up, and he said, one day I want to be a truck driver. He became a truck driver. The money is off the chain, y'all. Money is off the chain. However, DOT, Department of Transportation, they have rules about, the number of hours. I just didn't feel it was safe. And I told him, look, all money ain't good money. So I don't want you doing this forever, and so he always wanted to get in law enforcement. So he was happily go lucky just driving his truck, and one day got a call from California State Police, and it was like, hey, we got a class date. You can go to the academy. And he was like, okay. So he did that. So Gary has had every job he's ever wanted in his life. He just struggled making that transition because he was scared of being without a paycheck and without working. Me, on the other hand, I was ready.
There is
I thought
something
I
to
could.
that because I think people get so conditioned to the 1st and the 15th. It's almost like you're married to the paycheck, right? Because you're going to get it, and when you get it, you feel like you are financially secure, and you don't want to feel any old sort of way when like they do an audit, okay, y'all. So they do the audit after you retire, and you don't get paid for a certain amount of time. That was me. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, are we good? My husband's like, what are you talking about? What is happening with you right now? I'm like, because I've been so conditioned of seeing it in the paycheck and knowing what I have. And he's like, you guys, there's something wrong with you. Like, but you know what? Those are like some of the little things that you kind of go through because it's the mindset. Like I'm huge on mindset too. Like having the right mindset when you do transition, so that way when you're out to do whatever you're trying to do, and that could be different career. Like some of us are doing different careers, some of us are starting our own businesses, and that takes a different mindset. So so I always go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think he too was so in tune and structured by the military. He got into another paramilitary organization. Again, not having to worry about what to wear, where to be, when to be. He even, remember those highly polished black leather boots that we had? He was wearing those into his next career in law enforcement, and just recently, I told him since he's home now, get rid of some of this stuff. He couldn't let go of some of his black military boots because he had highly polished them, so that ought to tell you how structured this man is. He just couldn't let go of some of those things. He finally did. So don't laugh, everybody. But yeah, it was that, again, the structure of where to be. And it's not like he can't function on his own. Don't get me wrong. He just thrives in that environment of he doesn't want to have to explain, because he has the expectations that you are in this unit, law enforcement, and you know what's expected of you, and he don't have time for the simple supervision. Gary just he's at that level where, look, if I got to tell you, he just don't have time for that. So structure that structure is what he thrived on. And
Yeah,
so if he hadn't gotten into law enforcement after the military, I don't know what he would have done, really, because
yeah,
he just fell right into that so easily. We find and get into what we're familiar with. But
yeah.
sometimes you
You're
got to
right.
get uncomfortable. You got
Yeah,
to
you
get
do.
uncomfortable,
Yeah.
you know?
And speaking of uncomfortable, you got uncomfortable when you switched careers. So,
Yes.
you
Yes.
went from the sexual assault, portions, if you will, in that career, and then you went into security,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
So,
now, and then you transition again into the deputy IG.
yeah. Yeah. So, my most uncomfortable feeling is when I don't know. Okay, so
Yeah,
for 8 years, I knew the job. I knew how to be there for a survivor. I knew how to talk to senior leaders. I knew how to talk to attorneys and law enforcement. So I got comfortable in that. But after so many years of hearing other people's trauma, there's a phrase, vicarious trauma.
yeah,
When your on-call phone only means that someone's calling you because they're in distress, because
yeah,
they've been assaulted, you're there. You're hyper vigilant. I lived that. And I think if there are ever any survivors that are out there, they would truly say that I was there for them. Uh, that can wear on you. 8 years
yeah,
of every time your government cell rings, it's somebody in distress and needs help. That starts weighing on you. I mean, it became so much a part of my life, even television shows that had sexual assault issues in it and components to it. I mean, I'm talking to the TV and Gary's like, oh,
no,
so I realized that, yeah, I was starting to carry some of that trauma
yeah,
and knew I needed to find something else. Didn't know what, but an opportunity opened up in the security field. And I'm like, ooh, I know nothing other than truly how to protect a government document, what not to say, things like that. And so I stepped into that, into a program that was completely broken, completely. I mean, it had failed inspection 2 years in a row. But I said, if God didn't bring me to it, I know he'll bring me through it if he did. So I had to suffer and struggle for probably a good 6 to 9 months, not knowing
wow,
that word and learning it and being uncomfortable. And
yeah,
I was able to leave that program 4 years later in the capable hands of somebody that came in and could pass inspections. I'm not, again, not, oh, wonderful me, but I I made some effective changes. And
yeah,
so that uncomfortableness is what I don't like, what I don't know. And I'm still, even though I've been, in the inspector general world 18 months, I'm still learning.
yeah,
I every single day is something, that I can learn something from. And so there's some uncomfortableness, but there, if we go back to leadership, I'm expecting my leader to be able to step in to help me forge through the dark spots in the trenches to get me through that. Yeah. So yeah,
yeah,
it's uncomfortable, changing, but that
yeah,
change is what makes you get better, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
I agree because I know for me, and I'll speak to my experience, retiring and then starting a business. I am uncomfortable. There's a lot of things that I do that I just be
I
like,
wouldn't
I don't.
I wouldn't think that. It looks
People
like you're
don't
natural to
think
me.
that, but you know what? Sometimes, when you have inside of you, that you can tap into certain, um, you know, what do you call it? Like a gut, if you will. Like I'm like a gut feeler. Like if I feel like it's good and right, I'll step more into it, even when
Mhm.
I'm afraid, because I feel like if it's something that I'm like, oh, I want to see what this can become. I want to see how this unfolds. I'm here, so why don't I just fully get into it? So I just allow the fear to kind of take the back seat for a hot second, but every single day there's something new that I don't know anything about that I have to face. And
I
it's
wouldn't put
okay.
you, fear, and Rochelle in the same sentence. Never,
Well, I
never.
mean, because I don't allow it to override. I
Yeah.
think that's the key. I don't allow it to kind of take center stage. I just know fully in myself, like I have everything I need within me. So
Mm.
I just need to go ahead and just do it. And if good or bad, whatever it is, I'll learn something from it. I'll
What
learn
about your
something.
network? But see, you have a
Yeah.
network of
I
folks that
have a
you can reach out to and
I
to
have
say,
a
hey, how do
Yeah,
you do
I have
this?
a lot of people in the network that they're the safety net, if you will. And I think
Mm.
that's important too for people to have, especially if you're changing careers or if you're transitioning from a long career or if you're, starting a new business. You need to have people who are a few steps ahead of you. You need to have people who are at the same level as you, and you also need to have people who are just starting out,
Uh-huh.
because it's the same way we are in the military, right? Like that community of people to kind of give you feedback on, kind of the left and right boundaries. Like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
you probably shouldn't be doing that. So I always ask my mentor, who's a business mentor, I ask her before I even step to make a decision on it. I'm like, you think? And they'll poke holes in it for me. Like, wait a minute, that's probably not good for you right now, right? But I think that's important to have this uncomfortable, like sense anyway. Like when you feel like
Mm.
you're so comfortable that you can do it in the back, like in your sleep, back of your hand.
Yeah.
It's just probably that's probably something that you need to think about. Like, okay, well, maybe I need to do something a little bit differently to challenge myself. You know?
Yeah. And that's why I always, this probably sounds going against what I said earlier that I'm an introvert, but I like to have a cadre of people that do different things so that
Yeah.
like you can pick up the phone and ask questions of. My husband just asked me today, he needs a favor, with some fingerprints. So, he comes to me because he'll tell you, I don't got no friends, which is probably true. No,
What is that?
he is not social. Anybody that
His
knows my other
friends
half, he's
are
not a
your
social.
friends.
Share alike, right? But
Yeah.
so he's not on any social media or anything like that, but he knows that I have a cadre of people, and it's not using people, because people call me just as much and I'm willing to share just as much
Yeah.
because I want to see us succeed. And when I say
Yeah.
us, I mean everybody. I
Yeah.
want to see us succeed. So if you tell me you're trying to do something, and Kim, I know you've done this before. Hey, Kim, I know you've been mistress of ceremony before and you've done scripts. Hey, can you do this or that? I'm more than happy and willing
Yeah.
to share, because see, there might be a time where I might need something from somebody that can help me,
Exactly.
and that's only to get better. So if
Yeah.
we don't have that sense of trying to help somebody, we close off opportunities for not only ourselves, but for us to be successful. We
Absolutely.
got plenty
I
of
agree
critics
100%.
in the background. Let me tell you, we got
Plenty.
everywhere you go, there's somebody that'll criticize you. But
Yeah.
let's be that agent of change to help somebody to
Oh,
get
yeah.
somewhere. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think too, when we have done a long stint of service, when someone calls us who's, asking questions. I was just on the phone with someone earlier today who served in the Air Force, and she's just like, I just want to ask you questions about, branding, and like an author. And I was like, yeah, let's what we talking about? What you need help
Mhm.
with? And just to be able to give that person a sense of relief, like,
Mhm.
okay, I was thinking about this, or just wanted to hear somebody who was doing it, so you don't sound like you're the only one thinking it. And that's why we have these networks, like in LinkedIn. Again, I that is my that's the ground that I'm stomping in right now. Is where I have built a community of people in there that truly are looking for assistance and support. And I have a lot of conversations with people, and so I love that. I'm an extrovert, as most people
Yes.
No, so I'm always out and about. I do not like staying
I
inside.
remember
I am not
Airman
that
King throughout
person.
the clinic. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had to be out. Yeah, I would be out in clinics when I was, we were working in Turkey, and Sergeant Shirley at the time would be trying to find us, looking for us, because I was always roaming around in
T,
the clinic.
Tamara, Brian. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Y'all was always
She,
out
yeah,
and
we
about, but
were,
that's okay.
yeah,
That's,
yeah, but
that's
yeah.
okay. But
So,
you mentioned, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So you mentioned branding when
Yeah,
you first invited me on the show. Hey, Kim, these are some of the organic conversations we're going to have. And I'm like, branding? What do I know about branding? But then I
yeah,
started to think about it. I told you it was really hard for me to make that transition to the private sector to start with my wardrobe. Uh, my family will tell you you shouldn't have had problems with your wardrobe, but I did. And it got to, I never will forget, I had a chief at one of my assignments who came back and was having lunch with us in the defect. It was chow hall back then. And he said, we were asking, so what's been the biggest struggle for you transitioning? And he said, to be honest, it's clothing. I
yep.
couldn't wait. I was like, any opportunity. We used to be able to pay $5 to wear civilian clothes on Friday. Did you ever do
Oh
that?
yeah,
Was that ever your time? Yeah, we could pay $5 to wear civilian clothes until we got a wing commander one day who said, if
yeah,
you want to wear civilian clothes, go ahead and find you a new job. How's
yeah.
that? But, well,
I
we did
don't
it for
know
a
if they do
fundraiser.
that now.
Fundraisers, that was, we made some money that day. But
Yeah,
so this chief said it was hard for him to pick his clothes out. And I thought, I will never have that problem. And I started and I was like, oh yeah, I do, because maybe because I had so many different choices or whatever. But right now at 9 o'clock every night when I was going in the office every day, it was like an alarm went off in my body, which never did. But I mean, mentally, 9 o'clock every night, you can find me in my closet because I'm putting together my whole outfit to include the accessories, the belt, the jewelry, the ears, yeah, everything. That is just me. And
yeah.
so there'd be times the kids call or Gary looking for me. Oh, it's 9 o'clock. She's in her closet.
She in the
Yeah.
closet.
Yeah. So it's called being prepared. And I hate that in the morning being rushed. I have a routine.
Oh,
Here we go again. Structure, y'all. I live with structure, and that's helped me in my life. It helped me in my careers. That structure. I cannot in the morning. If I have a wardrobe malfunction, I'm lost in the morning. So, like I said, I am getting out. If I'm wearing slacks, I got the belt. I know the jewelry I'm gonna wear. I know how my hair is gonna be fixed, maintenance free. But
yeah,
yeah, I am that structured.
yeah.
Maybe a
Well, you
little
know what?
OCD or
Branding
whatever.
to me, what I realized was, the way that we presented ourselves in the uniform, our image, if you will, you
Mhm.
had to have a certain image to get certain opportunities. They weren't just going to be putting
Exactly.
anybody up in front. Okay.
Nope. Nope.
And so the way that we would make sure that our uniform was sharp and it presented a look that they would say, yeah, oh yeah, she's looking sharp, or we would love for her to be here or there. I just converted that into the civilian sector, but in a different twist. Like I have a twist on it. So I encourage everyone to build a wardrobe around their lifestyle. So,
Okay.
for my lifestyle, like I speak, I also go and take AJ to basketball and we do he has basketball games. I also, go to church. Like there's so many different
Uh-huh.
elements to what I have.
Uh-huh.
So I need options for each one of these things, along with the accessories and the purses and the whatevers. But what I chose to do is to pick the one color. And if everybody knows, my color is pink. So I build around the pink. Everything you see is around the pink, and it makes it easier for me. I'm like, I can get dressed like I did when I was in the uniform. You tell
Mm.
me I got 15 minutes to get dressed to go somewhere. Let's look. I take this thing and just do, and I'm out the doors.
And so funny that you say, dress for your lifestyles, because now that I'm thinking about it, mm, I was doing that as a kid growing up and didn't know it and didn't realize
Yeah,
it.
that's
We
right.
had play clothes, we had
Yep,
school clothes, we had
we did
church
too.
clothes.
That's right.
Okay, and don't get it twisted and wear the wrong thing to the wrong occasion.
Nope.
My mom would get you straight on that. So,
Yes.
without even thinking about it now, I did have some structure in that. And as
Yeah,
far as now, when you talk about branding, there's the term suited and booted.
yeah,
I am that person. It's
yeah,
not about me trying to look better than anybody else. It's
yep,
just the professional person that I am. And
yeah,
so when I was giving lectures, I might be in suits every time I gave a lecture. Or if it was, hot in the desert, triple digits, made of almost October around here, there might be, dress week or whatever. And I
yeah,
never will forget people. It is just so strange. And I tell you, you got to be careful because you don't know who's watching you. Somebody actually came up to me, when you're on stage in the theater, you're higher than everybody else. And this individual said, I couldn't take my eyes off your shoes. She said, your outfit was the bang. And, anyway, and we knew that, but your shoes. I had on black and white, and I actually had found a pair of shoes with the strap around the ankle that were in black and white. And so
yeah,
they were asymmetric so that the inside of your feet, they were white and the black was on the outside of the shoe. Don't know where I found the shoes, still have them. But she was like, she paid attention to my shoes. She goes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know you were giving a lecture, but I was just looking at the shoes, wondering where did you get those? Because those are really, really different. So I know people were watching me. I actually had someone, one of my airmen, that came up to me and said, I've been noticing since you came back as a civilian, and I haven't seen you in the same outfit twice. I'm like, how would you know? I don't even know if I wore the same. He said, people watching notice Miss Shirley. I was like, ooh, that close? But my kids and even my husband, we will go places, even out to dinner. I just try to look because we know there are people out there that are looking at us, and I'll be blunt and transparent, African Americans, and
mhm,
watching us. Okay.
mhm,
And everybody has the right to dress the way they want to. I don't have a problem with
mhm,
that.
yeah.
I'll tell you though, I'm sick and tired of the below the butt. Anyway, so I just try to make sure that I look professional, and that's who I can be responsible for. And if I can
Yeah,
share a moment with someone else and help them, then I'll do that when it's appropriate. But my kids will tell you, and they'll ask if we're going out to dinner, family event, for somebody's birthday. Our tradition in our family is everybody gets to pick where they want to eat for their birthday if we're all together. And
yeah.
so it's always, well, what do we need to wear? And I'm like, why are you asking me? Because we know how you're going to be. I'm like, what does that mean? If we're going out to a nice steak restaurant, you all know how to dress. It's like, oh, one of those. And yes, my children say that I'm bougie.
Yeah,
But I take that as a compliment sometimes, and that's
I
okay.
take it as a compliment too because my family knows as well. They know what time
When
it
I'm
is in
coming,
here, right?
yeah.
We go out
So
someplace nice to eat, like we're going to get dressed for the occasion. So let's get to it. Nobody
and
argues
that's yeah.
anything now.
So there's no question. We know, and I think the girls have that mindset too, and maybe it's because of their mom that they have that separate set of clothes too. These are the clothes we're gonna wear when we're around mom. Oh, we
Yeah,
know we're gonna have to go out somewhere when mom comes. So yeah, and maybe it's a little fun thing, and
yeah,
sometimes it's not so much when they're ribbing me about it. But it's all about being professional, and there's a time and place for it. And
yeah.
so, do you? I'm not telling anybody to go out there and get no new wardrobe, but do you? Just know that when you're out in those spaces
Hmm.
where we are being watched, just
Hmm.
be appropriate. Be
Hmm.
intentional of how you want to present yourself, because I can't say this strongly enough. People will treat you in how they see you.
Hmm.
And
It's
that's
so
in
true.
my world at the level that I'm at now, and the executive staff. I know people are watching me. Now, some
Hmm.
people may show up to a staff meeting with a pair of cargo pants and a thermal shirt. That's
Yeah,
not going to be Kim Shirley, because see, that's not acceptable.
yeah,
But we're still sitting in an executive staff meeting. No one will say something to them. but they'll
No.
definitely pull me aside and say something. So let us be intentional. Know what the role is. And if you are in these positions, in these situations where you can make effective change and be a positive role model person, take that opportunity. Take that
Yes,
opportunity, because there
I
will be
agree.
many times when people will pull you down. So
Yeah,
let's be the best we can be at all times. And no, I
yeah,
don't go to the grocery shop, grocery store suited and booted, but I'm gonna look decent. I couldn't
yeah.
wear a headscarf, rollers when I was growing up out in public. That did not make it outside our doors. And
Not
I
ours
live by
either.
that even with my daughters. We will not. If you see one of them Shirley girls now in the commissary out in the public with a hair bonnet. Oh, don't let me. I don't mean to poke no eyes. A hair bonnet, slippers, and pajamas. You need to call me. Call me. Just
Call
call
Miss
me.
Shirley and let her know, y'all, if one of her babies
My
are out
daughters.
there
My daughters.
acting
No
acting
better.
like they don't know what
No
time
hair
it
bonnet.
is.
No slippers. No pajamas outside your front door.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna live the
You know
same.
what? I just think that, like you said, everything that I speak to when it comes to your presence, because people only got a hot second to really take
First
in that
impression.
first impression,
Mm,
and that's kind of what they'll stay with for a while. And it's not only just about the appearance. I also talk about behaviors, your what you do and how you do it, and then your communication style, as well as what you're presenting online. All right,
mm-hmm.
because again, my phone is right here. Okay, everyone can look up anyone at any time. All right, and if you
Mm-hmm.
got stuff on your phone, like if you have your profiles, whether or not social media, like people use their social medias for a whole lot of different things, and
Yes.
that's your prerogative. All right. But what I help with is for people to really have that digital presence that they can be, I don't want to say proud of, but like they can look to and
Just proud
go,
of.
you know what? That is me. That's who I am for real, for real. All right. I'm just not out here just willy nilly. I'm putting out things that I want you to know that I care about, that I put some thought into it about, and I just didn't do a random. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes when people look up themselves, like Google yourself, because I challenge people to Google themselves
Yeah.
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Google yourself and see what pulls up. Half
Yeah,
the
I haven't
time
done it
you
in a
don't
while.
even know what people are saying about you, or you may have some things in there from your past, and we all got a past, okay?
Yes.
So you may have some things from your past that you weren't so proud about at that point, that it's still lingering. It still somehow made it on there. So I talked through the whole gamut, because I think that the whole package, if you will, that especially as you are trying to look for opportunities, advancing in your career, you
Yes.
know and you looking to see why other people get in advance and you're still at the same point. I'm like, okay, from top to bottom. All right, let's kind of look to see, make a scan. All right, and let's do some adjustments if we need to get you that opportunity, because it may just be one or two little things.
And
If it,
so that you, oh, you have
okay.
said so much. You have said so much in just that little package. So I had a friend who was
Okay,
looking for a
wait,
job.
hold on, Kim. Okay, so y'all, we've been here for a minute, but we're gonna stay here.
Oh,
Okay, so we're gonna stay here. So if you got to go, that we know. All right, but
I
we're gonna
thank
be here
you,
for a minute. Yeah, we thank
all
you
my
for
Facebook
being
folks.
here, but
Yes,
we're gonna
yes,
get
yes,
into
yes.
this subject real quick here.
So I had a friend who was looking for a job, and you know, had the whole resume thing, email address, phone number, all this kind of stuff. And I said, okay, so if you're looking for this kind of job, and it was going to require her getting a background investigation to get a security clearance, I said, so you can shoot me your resume. I'm not the best, but I'll give you the feedback that I can offer and help you along. And I looked at her email and I'm like, ooh, So I got her on the phone. I said, okay, so let's go over this. I haven't read the thing, but some things are just jumping off the page at me. And I said, I'm looking at your email address. And so when your email address is pretty young thing 54, at whatever, you got to be careful.
Yeah,
What
you
do
do.
you want the hiring official to really know about you?
Wait, I
Okay?
gotta put that. Wait, what was it again?
Pretty hot
Pretty
thing.
young, pretty
Pretty
young
hot
thing.
thing.
Oh,
Pretty hot
pretty hot,
thing. Yeah, yeah,
hot
yeah.
thing.
You may not want to use that in an email address where you want somebody to email you congratulations or so sorry you didn't get the job. So let's be intentional about the email address that we have, and make sure that it's she put it in there, didn't she? Make
I'm just
sure
saying. I
that
mean,
we are really putting out there what we want people to know, right? And then the phone, your voicemail. If you have on there, hey, this your boo, you know what to do,
no.
and just think if somebody's trying to call you back to say, hey, we want to interview you. What are they thinking when they get? Okay, so you think I have seen some things. Okay, so be intentional about those kinds of things. And I'm not saying don't have them, but think about, do I want a separate email address, one for my friends,
Yep.
that are friends that I, hang and play with or whatever, and then
Yep.
one that's professional that you want somebody to get back at you on for professional reasons. And there's nothing like, and I mean, I heard them even as in all my jobs, when you have to call people back, when I'm trying to call you to tell you, hey, you need to fill out the paperwork to get your clearance reinvestigated, and I get all kind of stuff. There have been some ratchet ones out there. Be professional and intentional. If you're going to use that phone number on a resume and have somebody call you back, what message are they going to hear? What
Mm-hmm.
message are going to be they hear? So be mindful of that. Um, your social media. I can tell you, the last 6 years of my life, up to in the Air Force, last 6 years of my Air Force career, up to present life now, I have been in high profile jobs. Just got to tell you,
Mm-hmm.
high profile jobs. I've reported to commanders, senior leaders in the military. And so you are looked at with great scrutiny. You live in a fishbowl. People are looking at you. And so I always had to make sure that I was that professional over and above most others. And so, in saying that, with my social media, I have to be careful. I have great opinions on a lot of subjects, but that's all they are,
Mm-hmm.
opinions. And opinions are like armpits. Everybody's got some, right?
Everybody's
So
got some.
yeah, you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. And again, I'm not trying to pipe anybody down, shut anybody up, take away freedom of speech,
Yeah.
but I have to be careful. Again, the only social media I have is Facebook. I'm not high speed into Instagram and Twitter and everything else. I don't have time for that in my life, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I have to be careful what I say. And I have found in my years, the one of the most disheartening things are people that I served with in the military that raised their hand like I did, took the oath, and said they would defend the Constitution for which we all fought for. Um, say the things that they do on Facebook. I call them keyboard warriors
Mm-hmm.
because I often ask myself, is this what they thought about me while I was on active duty serving right beside them? I
Yeah.
have seen senior officials that have befriended me on Facebook, and the things that they put out there, I have unfriended many people.
Yeah.
Many people. You,
Yeah.
you are not going to insult me, talk about me after you have lived in my house for 6 months. Yes, I had an individual lived in my house for 6 months free and got on social media and said, Black people smoke dope, and get on welfare. And I had to make sure that this was the same individual. I had to look at the name, different ways to spell the name. And I was like, he didn't say that. No,
Yeah.
he didn't. Not after he slept in my house, ate my food, and didn't give me a dime. See, that was one of
Yeah.
them backdoor drug deals. He was working with my husband, and I didn't know about it, so I'm thinking he's paying my husband. But yeah, got on social media and said, Black people, all they do is smoke dope and get on welfare. Oh, I had to talk to that young man. And then I unfriended him, and then he got on there and started talking through other people. I can't believe that Kim will get mad over something like that. And I was like, man, don't leave it. Just leave it alone. Don't go back to
You
her.
just
Don't
gotta
try
leave
to
that
find
alone.
it. No. So
Yeah.
I went around the circle to say all that because I find people get to be brave on social media. Be careful what you say because it can come back to bite you, right?
It does.
I cannot, as an inspector general right now, that may be called upon to do an investigation, have anything on my social media that's going to show any bias toward any group of people, subject, religion, politics, whatever. I just can't do
Yeah.
it. Now, I have an opinion, but I got to keep it to
Yeah.
myself. And I know that. And so I just refrain. But we've got people, and that's okay. Freedom of speech. I fought for you to have that freedom of speech.
Yeah.
You go right ahead. But
Yeah.
just know and be careful about what you say, where
Yeah.
you say it, to whom you say it, because it
Yeah.
can come back at you.
It's
Yeah.
true. I got a couple comments here too. So Tiffany
Mm,
says, my husband had this conversation with his brother that he needed to be cautious of the things he put on his Facebook. He had pictures of him smoking on Facebook and doing things that were unfavorable to a professional setting. And that hiring teams look at potential hires' social media accounts and determine if that's the kind of person they want to hire. He was awestruck. His brother
mm,
was awestruck by this. But this is the world we live in. We live
right.
in a digital age society. Okay. And because we do, people have access to them.
Right.
So you want to be mindful of what you put it, especially if you're looking for opportunities. That's why if you say I want to be position myself and I'm trying to, have a certain reputation, okay. Well,
Right.
you can't be out here, just be out here. All right.
Right.
Let's talk about that. And then of course your daughter said, no, I don't.
I didn't even know she
I
was on.
I don't go out to the store in my PJs. So, Mama, you're doing right.
Oh, well, thank you, Alicia.
Your mama
Yeah,
taught
so I
you
won't be getting
well.
any phone calls. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes. Thank you
Yeah,
all
so
for
be
being
careful.
here.
Don't get mad when you're smoking that blunt and then figure out you gotta take a piss test and then you fail it and wonder why. And then I don't do that. I don't smoke. I get people to write character reference letters, but they then show this picture of you
Oh,
on
yeah. No.
Facebook. Come
Yeah.
on. And you know that once some people aren't believers of the fact that once
Yeah.
it's out there, it's out there. And yeah,
Yeah.
you can take it down. It can be taken down, but it's never fully deleted. There's some people in our society that don't believe and understand that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
So
right.
be intentional and know what's coming down the road. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm that saint. I've made some missteps in my life and will continue as long as God gives me breath. But I'm trying to be wise and intentional about where I put things, where I say things, who I say them to. And you mentioned being your true, authentic self. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have some concerns and some issues about that.
Yeah.
I haven't, for a long time in the workforce, been able to be my true, authentic self. And it bothers me. It bothers me. And I try to just make people aware of that. So what do I mean by this? Here's the long and short of it. So I cannot change the color of my skin. I will forever be a proud African American. No ifs, ands, buts about it. I'm not going to apologize for it. But there are so many times that just by me showing up the way I am, that I can be discounted. And so that's why maybe I go overboard in the way I
Mm,
look, in the way I dress, in the
mhm,
education that I get,
mhm.
and the way I talk. Okay.
Yeah.
I truly believe that there are people that will look at me and think, before I even open my mouth, that I'm and I apologize in advance if anybody's name out there is Shaniqua. I don't mean it to be negative. It's just a colloquial name that people will associate with being African American. And what are some of our gestures? Putting the hand on the hip and rocking the head. People expect that of you sometimes, or will try to push you to that level. And I pride myself so much by not giving people what they want to see.
Mhm.
And so I know there are times when people have tried to push me to that level, and I don't give them that. And then they're like, oh, wow. So she, I don't know, knows the rules to the game. No, I'm just smarter than you probably ever anticipated me to be. Because you can
Mhm.
put somebody up against you with less qualifications, but they look different from you, and yet they'll be given an opportunity. I can't tell you how many times people have said to me, we were having a discussion and Kim was very loud. No, Kim may have been vocal because I try to make sure I don't raise my voice because that's what they expect. Kim was vocal. Let's get it right. Let's use the
Mhm.
right terms. So I have the loudness going against me. Um, Kim showed up and um, she may have people say that I'm intimidating, and I don't know why, but I will come to you with facts. So in the Air Force, for those that are non-military affiliated, we have instructions, and they tell you step by step of what you will or what you won't do. There's wills, shalls, and must in those
Mhm.
instructions. And so
Yeah.
I will come to you and bring you the reference that says we can or we cannot do this. But Kim was defiant. No, I wasn't, but that's the word they'll use. What are some of the other things that people have said about me? Uh, Kim was, she was very controversial. Well, you're in a staff meeting with senior leaders, and a white male can put their fist on the desk and use a foul language a foul word here and there, and they
Facts.
are passionate about what they're saying. But let Kim be strongly opinionated about hers, and she was being difficult, defiant, and didn't want to follow pop. Yeah. So we have to be careful. We have to be careful. So I have not been able to, for many years, show up as my true, authentic self, an educated Black woman that knows how to speak without using ebonics, and yet now I'm intimidating to people. I'm not going to change. You can't take away my education.
Well, I
You're not
think
going to
I
talk
yeah,
away with.
I think that, all what you said is facts, okay? Facts on facts. And I've experienced the same as you have for
Mm,
sure. And I think one of the things that I really tried my hardest was to stay true to me,
mhm.
to
You
just
must.
for what I believed in, what I knew I was capable of doing. And yes, they may sidestep and say, you're doing this wrong or you're doing that wrong. And there's a lot of overturning, if you will. I had to overturn all of these negative connotations
Mhm,
that were always coming at me for whatever reasons. People have certain reasons for why they did what they did in my experiences that I had. And I had to find for me, my authenticness is how how did I speak through that? How did I
mhm,
get through that without selling myself, if you will, selling my soul, going along to get along. And yeah,
Oh,
we're very strong women, strong-minded women with an opinion. I have very strong
mhm.
opinions as well, and ideas and thoughts. Um, and we have to fight for them. I just said I'm going to continue to fight for what I know and believe in me, my true self. I'm going to fight for that girl. And I fought for that
and
girl.
and people again are watching you, and they'll
Yeah.
see you, and they'll see
Yeah.
that you are doing those kinds of things. They may
Yeah.
never ever say anything to you.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Angry
Yeah.
black woman syndrome. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Yeah, that's alive and well.
Yeah.
Alive and well. So, yes, I just have to be cautious,
Yeah.
but I'm going to find my way
Yeah.
to let you know what is right if it's through an instruction, in my world, especially in compliance. Um, but I'm going to let you know as well that just as a human being, you will treat me with respect. And I've had to call some people to the side and say, hey, you won't talk to me like that again. So what's this one about?
Oh
So back
yeah.
when I was a sergeant, I was told to
Dwayne, thank you. Yeah, thank you for showing up for today's. Yeah, this is it right here. So he's saying, y'all, back when he was sergeant, he's told to stop all that God stuff. You're not going to make it. And if you do, your Marines are going to take advantage of you. Thank God they took advantage of me. Leaders want their people to be successful and rise to higher heights than them. Godly character is not a sign of weakness, and love never fails. Amen.
that part. Yeah.
Yes.
So I've just always been careful, and I am not ashamed to let folks know that I believe in the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because I'm telling you, He's the only reason why I'm here. So I'm
Yeah.
always going to give Him the praise. I just know where I have to be careful and how I use that.
Yeah.
Because there was a point, I think things happened at the Air Force Academy some years back where people were talked about proselytizing and things like that. So I'm just really careful. But hey, if I can work in the man who made sure that I'm still here, because I almost checked out at age 32 and age 44 while on active duty. I know from whence my help cometh and the reason why I'm still here. So I don't have a problem with that. I'm just careful. I'm
Yeah.
and considerate. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna stop. Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a way to do it. There's just a way to do it.
There
Yeah.
is.
Uh,
Well, I think y'all heard from, wise and just, experience and just knows, what it is to live in this world and do some things that we're doing in leadership and in our mindset and personal brand. And we just went all around the world in here
yes, we
talking
did.
about a lot of different things. But I absolutely appreciate you being here as my featured guest for tonight. Dwayne said, by the way, he retired as a colonel. Won't he do it? God will let us know.
You should say something
That's
about this earlier, because I just really never thought I could get to where I am right now. There are a lot of folks that counted me out. Thank you, Barbara.
right.
Yeah, that is a woman of all women. I live vicariously through her. But yeah, there were times that people actually told me I wasn't going to get it. In my last job, someone told me you will never get to be in a position of senior leadership because you can't write. Now they're shaking in their boots because of the position that
What?
I have.
You
Yeah, I
just be
had
writing
somebody
all
that
the
told
time.
me that I couldn't have gotten this far without knowing how to write in the military. But anyway,
Writing it up
yeah,
all the time.
I can now laugh. But there was a point in my life, in my career, where I used to take that stuff seriously and held it to my heart. But I know I can do better. There are new things that I have to do to make myself better, and I'm always trying to learn. So
Yeah.
yeah, and he will do it. Look where I'm at now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you, Rochelle. Thank you. Can't thank you enough.
Yeah.
Again, for having me as another guest on your show. I will love to come back again. Just let me
Yes.
know when. You can throw me in sometimes if somebody fails to show up or something, or you have a urgent need. Hopefully, I can be of help and assistance. And I'd like to thank each and every one of my Facebook family and friends, coworkers, family that showed up. And I'm sure you have a lot of feedback for me. I'm ready for it. Thank you again. Hey, I'm trying to get better. If I'm gonna do a TED talk, throw it
Yes.
at me. Throw it at me.
Yeah.
I don't want to get there and look like a fool. I gotta
Yeah.
represent some people, and I want to do
Yeah.
it
You're
well.
gonna be
I want
representing
to do it
us
well.
because we're gonna be
I
like,
want
we
to do it
know
well.
her. We know her.
Yeah, I think I can get
Well,
a good
y'all,
outfit together.
right. Don't you worry. I'll get you dressed up. All right.
There you go.
You won't be going out there just looking any old type of way. All right. You
No,
will
my
be
kids won't
working
let me either.
the sleigh way. Okay.
All
So
right.
y'all, thank you so much for those that were hanging out with us tonight and for this extended session of the show. And I love the fact that you all are, very talkative and supportive and appreciate your attendance and your participation. Don't forget, y'all. Please don't forget. I'm going to be having a session on Tuesday night. So if you are still interested in this session, you can go to the www.slay2success. You can go there. You can scan the QR code. You can go and scan this. I mean, it's in the comments, so you can pick it up and just cut and paste and copy and paste into your Google, if you will. And we'll see you there. So thank you all for being here tonight. As we always say, keep on slaying until you can't slay no more. We will be back here next Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have another guest for you, and you don't want to miss that episode. So have an amazing week, a slay amazing week, as I say. And we'll see you all later. Love y'all. Thank you for
Peace and
joining
blessings
us.
to all.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye, Rochelle. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.